This video demonstrates how you can implement a generic UX component that allows you to view the data in an arbitrary SQL table. So what we have in this very simple case over here is a UX component that has a drop-down which allows us to select a table in a particular SQL database. So in this case we're using the sample Northwind database as our demonstration vehicle, but this could be any SQL database that you have a connection string for. So you can see here that here are all of the tables in my Northwind database. So if I go here, for example, and click on customers, and then when I click the execute search button, this generic list control right here, which currently has no data in it and also has no columns defined other than just this temp column over here, is going to be repopulated. So I'm going to go there and say execute search, and you can see that now we're seeing all of the records in the customer table, and you can see that the columns in the list control here got set dynamically to the columns in the customer table. If I go and change this now to say the products table and then say execute search, we can see now that the list is being repopulated with the data from the products table, and the columns in the list got updated. But not only can I select different tables to view the data, but I can also execute searches against them. So for example, after I clicked the execute search button over here, actually after I selected the table, the column list here got updated. So I can go here now and say I'd like to basically see all orders where the supplier ID is equal to say 3, and then go ahead and execute search, and you can see now we basically have a value of 3 over there. But we can also choose different search operators. So for example, QBE allows me to type in say 3.6. that means everything between 3 and 6, and you can see now I get 3, 4, 5 and 6 over there. So what we have over here is, it's a very simple viewer, but it's generic, and it shows how the list control can be dynamically repopulated with records and also with columns. So we're dynamically changing the columns in the list, and what's going on behind the scenes is when I basically make a selection over here, an AJAX callback is made, and then on the server we're using AlphaDAO to find the columns in a particular table, and then when we submit the search we're using XBasic functions on the server side to turn the submitted data into search criteria. So if we go look behind the scenes here and see what's going on, we can see that in the drop down, which lets us choose the table, we can see that the choices for the drop down are based on a variable called list of tables, and that variable is being populated in a server-side event over here. So in the onDialog initialize event, we're creating a variable called list of tables, which is being used to populate that drop-down. And list of tables is obtained by just simply opening the connection to our SQL database and then calling the list tables method of the connection object. So this is how we get the list of tables. Then when the user makes a change and selects a table, you can see in the onChange event we're basically running an action called get fields. So if we go look at get fields over here, we can see that what get fields does is make an AJAX callback and runs the xb underbar get fields XBasic function. So if we go now and look at that function, look at xb underbar get fields, we can see that this function basically takes the table that was submitted and then over here basically gets the list of the fields in that table by using some AlphaDAO XBasic code. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. So we're continuing now looking at the generic table viewer. So when the user chooses a table, the AJAX callback executes a query that basically selects all the fields from that particular table. You can see that we wrap the table name in square brackets in case the table name has, say, a space in it or some special character. And then we turn on Portable SQL, which is the this is the Portable SQL way which you would represent a table name that has special characters. So we then go ahead and we execute that query. We get the result set from the query, and then we loop over the result set and we pull out of the column info, which is a property of the result set, the name of each field in the result set and also its data type. So basically inside the result set object there's a column info object, and the column info has properties for each field in the result set, and it has a name property and an alpha type property, which would be either a C or an N, C for character, N for numeric, T for date, time, etc. So, and then we basically take that those fields, which are in the form now of a CRLF delimited list, and then we use this helper function to convert that into a JSON array format, and then we basically send back a JavaScript response from this XBasic callback to populate the 3 drop-down boxes over there. So then when the user goes ahead now and then presses the execute search button, that also is an AJAX callback. So you can see here there's another AJAX callback going on, and this AJAX callback is calling a function called xb_populate list. So if we go take a look at that function, the key part about that function is that the first thing that we need to do is check to see did the user define any search fields. So if the user did not define any search fields, then our SQL is just simply select star from table, and so this is basically the if there were no searches specified, then we can just ignore all that code. So you can see here we're basically going to go ahead and execute the query, but before we execute the query we're going to basically add a limit of the first 500 rows, because we don't want to return too many rows. It's otherwise we could end up returning millions of rows of data, which would be bad. So here we go ahead and we add we use the parse method to parse the SQL. Then we set the first property, which adds a limit clause, and then we regenerate the SQL. So this is just using the XBasic SQL parsing functionality in Alpha Anywhere. Then we go ahead and execute the SQL statement. We get a result set. We take that result set and we generate JSON objects. So this is a list, a CRLF delimited list of JSON objects, but it's not in the form of an array. We need to basically add a comma after each entry and then add square brackets in front and at the end of it. So now we are composing our JavaScript response to send back to the client. So we create a JavaScript object, a variable called underbar data, that has all of the data that our query returns, and then we call a method of the UX component called setListColumns and populate. So this is a very powerful method over here. What it does is it takes the data in this array, looks at the columns in this data object here, and then repopulates the list control, setting both the data and the columns in the list. So this is how we dynamically repopulate the list control over there. And then we send out, in addition, we now go and get the total number of records in the query, and we send that back and we update the record count property on the screen. So this is how we execute the query to populate the list. Now the last piece that we need to explain is how a search is actually implemented. So let's pause and pick that up in the next video. So we're continuing now talking about how this generic table viewer operates. So let's go now and actually let's debug into this. So what I'm going to do over here is put a debug statement in the populate list over here, and then we'll just debug into it. So we'll go there and type in, say, debug1, and now let's go and run this. So I'm going to choose, say, the customer table, and then I'll go there and I'll say city equals, and then I'll type in London. Or actually what I'll do is let's go here and say country, and then I'll choose QBE syntax, and I'll type in, say, UK, France, and then hit the execute button. So here we are in the execute button. and we'll just go through the data. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to say, if we look at e.data submitted now, we can see that what got submitted is the 3 search fields. So basically we can see over here that e.data submitted has for search field 1 it has country, the operator 1 was QBE, and the search value was UK, France. So basically search field 2 and search field 3 were blank. So that means we only have to compute searches for the first one. So now we're going to see that we have a local XBasic function defined over here. So let's just debug into that. So we'll go into that, and so now we can look at the search field, which is going to be country with the data type in parens after the name. So we'll go there and we'll extract the search value, which is going to be UK, France, and the operator over here, which is going to be QBE. So this operator is the so-called friendly name. We need to turn that into the real operator. So we use this string dictionary over here. So basically there's our string dictionary, and it says that basically if the operator was equals, the real name is the real operator is an equal sign. If the friendly name was greater than, the real operator is the greater than sign, etc. So now we're going to go here, and we've got the search field type is the character, the search field and the search field now without the data type at the end is just country. So we'll go there and we'll turn the friendly operator name into a the real system name, and then we can go here and we can see we have a utility function in XBasic called make search expression, and that takes the search field, the search value, the search field type, and then this special operator over here, this type, which is either a 1 or a 2, and it basically returns an object. And let's take a look inside this object over here. We can see that inside PS we have 2 properties, one called expression. So you can see there's our expression, country equals the first argument, or country equals the second argument, and then parameters is a CRLF delimited string that has the parameter value, the parameter type, and then the parameter name. So that gets returned, and then you can see that as we go through this there was nothing for search field 2 and search field 3, and then we take the filter, which currently looks like this, and we combine all the filters from the first search field, the second search field, and the third search field with an AND clause, and then we add that onto the end of our SQL statement. So now our SQL basically has select star from customers where country equals that, and then we take our parameters, which looks like this right now, and we use this string now to populate a SQL arguments object. So you can see here we're adding those parameters to our SQL arguments object, and now we basically have our SQL statement over here. We want to add in a limit clause, so now there's our SQL with limit over there, and then we go ahead and we execute that, and then we populate. So there's our JSON over there. We use that to populate our list. So what we've shown over here is how you can use the UX component and a list to basically do queries against a backend SQL database and dynamically repopulate the list columns and the list rows with the results of those queries, and how you can implement a user-defined search facility in the component. Thanks very much for watching.